Hi and welcome to Wildcard FPL. So you can see that we are two Wildcard FPLers down right now, but FPL needs to crack on, so let's just jump into it. This week, Game Week 5, I think we're just recovering. It was hellish for anyone that plays the game regularly. I suspect that this was probably one of the lowest scoring weeks that you may have ever had. John, how was Game Week 5 for you? Was it as bad as everyone makes out, or did you manage to escape?
I survived. I would say I survived relatively. There were a couple of points at the beginning of the week where I thought I might get sort of teen numbers, but there are a few players that came through for me at the death. I assume Bear and Alf are just lying low because they don't want to talk about their scores at all. They don't want to talk about the week. Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy scores out there. These magnificent midfields that people are able to assemble with the prices in this season. Doubling up on Man U, Sterling, Mbeumo, Maddison, Son, Foden's, Saka's, Martinelli's, and just absolutely nothing for anyone. So I was marvelling at it, really. It was just a marvel to behold.
There was definitely a point where I thought that I may actually just jack this in because it was so bad. I'm emerged with 25 points. And look, normally we do something where we'd look at too good and too bad for the week. I don't have any good. Look, my too good really is going to be Saka and Haaland. They at least got something. I had Maddison as captain. I felt that Sheffield United was going to be a game that Spurs did really well in. They did manage to win in the end, and indeed, John, you were there, right? A good atmosphere, I imagine.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. I also captained Maddison. I spent the morning before the deadline reading an article by a guy that studies sports science and football tactics saying that Spurs would really struggle against the way Sheffield set up defensively. Still decided to captain Maddison because my inherent Spurs bias thought it was all dross, and then it was just totally apparent. Sheffield did really well, I thought, actually, in defence, but I was there. Crazy latest Premier League comeback in history, closely followed by Spurs again, and that Leicester game a couple of years ago where Bergwijn scored twice. I sold Richarlison seconds before the the deadline, so another reason for me to kind of just laugh at my FPL team. Also didn't score any decent captain points. Should have stuck with Haaland. Bought into the narrative that it was a good week to go for a differential with a tricky West Ham game, but they blew them away in the end.
Yeah, I think when we look at it, Haaland's, we all made the right. I think we made the decision for the right reasons. I knew that Haaland would score, but I was pretty confident he wouldn't go absolutely crazy. I was thinking he'd get one goal, but Maddison will get a couple of goals or a couple of assists and some bonus points, and that's how it played out with Haaland only really getting that one return. Things could have been a lot worse. When you look at the stats, if you watch the highlights, he missed 5 big chances. Of those 5 big chances, 3 of them were just absolute sitters. So we could all be sitting here now not only with 25 points, but with 25 points and massively down. So we did manage to get away with it a little bit. We got away with one there, I think. I think that will probably be the end of differential captains until such a time that Haaland is either injured or rested. I can't see people going back to that well.
After a whole year of captaining Haaland and, feeling like you had to start the season doing it, I think everyone was desperate to dip their toes in the water of another captain. But it's sort of, straight back to the safety of Haaland now.
I do think a lot of people have 2 to 3 Chelsea players, and a lot of people will have about 2 Man United players. I've actually got 3 United players because I've got Bruno, Rashford and Onana, and I've got 3 Chelsea players, Chilwell, Sterling and Jackson. So I am 6 deep, and unfortunately both of those teams are massively underperformed. How many are you on the line for?
I've been whittling away watching Chelsea and Man United perform. I've been whittling away since the beginning, so I've actually only got Rashford and Chilwell now. I'll hang on to them now until it's time to wildcard, but very thankful not to have any of them. I mean, it's like having 3 Everton players and 3 Wolves players last season. At this stage. Chelsea mad fixtures. I feel so bad for Man United fans right now. It's not just on the pitch, it's all the craziness in the media, the Glazers stuff. It does filter through to the pitch, and it must filter through to the atmosphere in the stadium. In the darker days of Nuno Ball and even Conte's sort of fun days, you can just feel it in the stadium. It's not a nice place to be when you've got 60,000 or more fans bristling at your team. It's a long way back for Ten Hag now, with so many injuries as well. It just doesn't look like a good long-term prospect.
I definitely think that if you've got any United defenders, now is the time to really start phasing them out if you can, because there won't be any clean sheets. And I really can't see Bruno and Rashford getting anywhere near any good points. Look, they're playing Bayern Munich in the week. I hope Harry Kane is in good form and can really put us out of our misery. It's one of those things that you feel like you just want to crash out of the Champions League, because you feel like you just want the club to be not as appealing for the Glazers to own. The Glazers saw the UCL money and thought, maybe let's just hang around. That seems to be what happened.
One more year.
There's a lot of stuff at the club, but I think, like, after that match, it's Burnley away, and normally you'd be like, yeah, you'll get some points there. I can't see it, John. I just can't see where those goals are coming from.
Yeah, Burnley. I mean, they're getting better. They were closer against Forest. I thought they were robbed, really. Had a goal disallowed. They look pretty handy. Company seems really at ease with how inexperienced Burnley are, and he seems to have the support of the board to kind of go through the pain of learning to play in the Premier League, and there's no sort of panic. I think it'll be a hard game, and as we've talked about before, that's a bit of rivalry for Burnley, at least. It'll be a pretty good atmosphere, and they'll be absolutely gunning for it. So no easy fixtures in the Prem, probably a pretty hard.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely no easy fixtures. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. On the table there is a wild card for my team. I've got so many problems. I've got those 6 players that we talked about, but we've just heard today that Rico Henry has picked up a knee injury and he will most likely miss the rest of the season. Really bad news for Henry, and bad news for Henry owners. I saw about 600,000 people have Henry in their squad. I'm one of them, so that actually gives me a 7th problem. It feels like that should be a wild card, but I'm just wary of what's going to happen in the future. Don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to try and -8 my way out of it.
Okay,
It's gonna be hard.
Yeah, that's a chunk of points, but 6 core players, a lot of money, not scoring points. It's hard, isn't it? It's been 2 weeks in a row now where the narrative has been like Chelsea have got to start scoring points. I would certainly be using that -8 points to get rid of Jackson.
He is first on the chopping block, 100%.
He could get a goal next week, but long term he just doesn't seem ready for the Prem. Certainly not ready for the pressure of leading the line for Chelsea right now, under all the pressure. Yep. There's Broha, who I'm really impressed by, Chelsea academy guy that went on loan at Southampton. Bit of a beast, and if he's anywhere near fit, he's actually proven himself in England, knows what it's about, knows what it's like to play for Chelsea, and I think he'll be a fairly easy swap in. So I think there's a minute's risk for Jackson as well. Sterling and Chilwell. I've got Chilwell. What are you thinking about? Sterling?
Well, it's going to be hard. I need to choose who I'm going to get rid of and who I'm not. Now, if anyone has been watching Wildcard FPL videos, and hopefully you have, and hopefully you are liking and subscribing to the channel. But yeah, if you've been watching our videos, you will know the egg bet came in, and there is a bet between Alfred and John on the fact that Chelsea will not get more than 10 points. When is that by, John? Just remind us again.
So that is between the Bournemouth game that just happened and December the 1st, when they played Brighton, which is the last game of their horrendous run of fixtures. So I think it's about 6 or 7 games, and yeah, I was just looking at it. That was when I was umming and ahhing about bringing Chelsea players in, and I was just looking at the games and I just thought, they're not getting anything out of this. It's horrible. Yeah, I think it's looking all right. Lucky to get a point at Bournemouth. Chelsea were laughable. I don't think I've laughed at a Premier League game quite as much as I had at that. A lot of that was to do with Jackson. Some of it was the kind of frustrating Sterling play where he tries to run the ball a bit too far. He is central to the team still, and there's a lot of pressure on that team to perform. So in a position where I'm not wildcarding, I would find it a bit difficult to ditch Sterling entirely. Chilwell I am worried about. He only played 10 minutes, so difficult one for people with 3 Chelsea
Chilwell
players.
Becomes a really big problem, because he's 5.8. It becomes a really, really big problem. If Poch decides that's it, you're not going to get that many runouts. Really big problem for FPL. In terms of a -8, I only have 1 free transfer, so I can make 1 free transfer and then I'm going to make another 2. Right now I'm thinking Jackson and Sterling out. You know my history with Sterling. I think he's a lovely chap, a really nice guy. Him and I do not get on very well when it comes to FPL, because whenever I have him in my team, he's either injured or does nothing. And right now he's in my team and he's doing nothing.
Yeah.
So right now, Sterling and Jackson, and then it was going to be one of Bruno and Rashford. But now I feel like I have to take out Henry, because if Chilwell is not going to be playing, I feel like I need that backup defender. So I'm thinking my transfer plans are already going to be Henry to Botman, because I think that works really nicely. And Newcastle defence right now, they are the defence to get on. I may even be tempted to double up on Newcastle defence next week. Game week 7, I might look to start getting in Share. He's only 5 mil. So if we have another week of Chilwell not starting, Share will come in for Chilwell quite easily. Then I'd have Udogie, Estepinian, Botman and Share, and then Sterling and Jackson to go. I haven't decided what to do with Jackson, who to go with. Naturally, people would say go to Alvarez, but it's the same reason that I haven't gone to him for the last few weeks, is I'm worried about his minutes. He keeps playing 90 minutes and scoring absolutely loads of goals and gets assists all the time. He's playing right now. He's playing right now. But this is the thing, like as content creators, we're sort of sitting around going, no Alvarez. He's definitely going to be a minute's risk. And the moment that we put him in, I can guarantee you Pep won't play him.
Yeah.
Because that is fantasy pain league. But
it's the way it goes.
I don't. But other than that, I don't know what to do. Maybe Wissa would be a smart move. Jackson to Wissa. That's easy too. What are your transfer plans coming up, John?
I've got Areola and didn't play him, and then he was one of the better scoring keepers. So I'm feeling happier about having Areola in my team. We've got a couple of tricky fixtures, but then there's a good run for West Ham. I'm hoping you get some save points. Defenders, I've got Botman already. Didn't play him. Missed out on 9 points. So more pain. But Saliba, who I'm happy with still. Udogie played really, really well in the game, but didn't get any points, such as FPL sometimes. And then I've got Chilwell. So I'm thinking about doubling up on Newcastle. I would like to get Trippier in. We've talked before about having wing backs that are taking free kicks and corners and that sort of thing. So I think there's a good opportunity there.
He is a bit of a talisman for them in terms of creativity, certainly. He is absolutely fundamental to them.
Yeah. So I think I'd like Trippier. Then it gets harder. You know, I think Saka got an assist. He's been playing very, very wide for Arsenal. He's kind of staying wide, diving to the goal line and cutting back. He doesn't seem to be sort of cutting inside or pushing into the box as much as he was in previous setups. Odegaard seems to be doing that more, but he's going to stay in. Foden seems to have 1 game week on, 1 game week off. So I'm hoping next week he'll have one on. I still think he's fairly instrumental to that new Alvarez-Haaland partnership. So he stays. Rashford, he's up for consideration, but I don't really know where I'd go. I've got Mbeumo and Maddison in midfield as well. So I've got 4 players I'm pretty happy with. So I'm not sure if I'd sort of spend the points to get Rashford out. Yeah. And then, Haaland, Alvarez and Wissa just keep on tracking for me. 3 of the top 5 scoring strikers. I've had them since game week 1.
It sounds to me like you could roll.
I could roll. I could play a pretty good team. Assuming Estupinian comes in and he's not injured and it was just fatigue from the internationals, then I could have Estupinian at home to Bournemouth, Botman, Sheffield away, Udogie, North London derby. But I think that's going to be a really open game. I'm expecting a bit of a goal fest. But he could also be benched. But then I've also got Saliba. So I've got 2 North London derby players. Or Chilwell, Villa at home, for the inevitable. So I've got,
The laughs.
Laughs, yeah. Areola, Liverpool away, save points maybe. Johnston did play. He's got Fulham at home. That's a difficult game as well. So I don't have any real burning issues at the moment. So maybe a roll is the move. I think you're right.
Yeah, unless of course anything happens during the UCL games that we've got. And so that brings me quite nicely onto the thing that we always try and talk about in this video, which is don't make any early transfers. I still see hundreds of thousands of you making transfers. Stop it. You are putting things at risk. What was the thing we saw earlier? Was it the Burnley guy? Everyone got the Burnley guy in?
Yeah, the Burnley striker, Foster, I think his name was. Yeah, they got him in on sort of Sunday night with Burnley still to play, thinking there's a double game week for Burnley coming up and he looks quite handy. I think some other FPL guys were chatting him up. And he does look like a great player. And then moment of red mist, elbowed guy in the chest, and he's banned for 3 games and misses the double game week. So I'd like to go and dig out the stats to see how many people had transferred him in this week. Man,
a good portion, maybe like 20,000, 30,000, something like that. Enough for those people are now really regretting that decision. So, we've got until, this is a late one actually. The deadline is going to be 1:30 in the afternoon this coming Saturday. So it is a late one. These deadlines where it's the afternoon, it can be pretty hectic because it's quite late in the day. There's quite a lot of time for speculation. Twitter will be rife with conspiracy theories that Alvarez is not playing and Haaland's been seen wearing a sling, and it would be all this crazy stuff flying around. And yeah, the FPL servers will crash at 13:25. It can be quite hectic. So I tend to get, on days like that, I tend to get my transfers in about half an hour before the deadline, just so I'm not totally wired when it comes to like 1 minute to the deadline and I'm trying to find a leak from somewhere. I just go with what it is, so that I'll try and finish up maybe by about 1 o'clock.
Do you think it's like transfers, get your transfers and the bus team?
Bus team is something we talk about a lot, and what that means is if I get hit by a bus, my team is already sorted for the weekend. So I'll be picking my game week 7 team just after the servers open up again, and I'll be picking my captain, my vice captain, making sure I got my bench sorted, make sure I got all my players sorted, and then I'll worry about transfers later in the week. But just so that I know that I've already got that sorted, should I have a disaster and miss the deadline, I at least know I've sorted that out. There's nothing worse than missing the deadline and not having your team already sorted, and you forgot to move the vice captain around, or you forgot to change your bench order or something like that.
Well, I've done it. Yeah, I've learned my lesson this season.
Well, I think we're coming close to wrapping up. I think emotionally wise, I was ready to jack in the game. Then I dialed that back to, I'm just going to wildcard. I've dialed that back down to taking a -8. I haven't taken any hits so far this season, none at all, so I'm really happy with that. So taking a -8 at this point, I can clear the decks of some underperforming players and indeed an injury now in the unfortunate Rico Henry. And I can just sort of start to build towards game week 9 when I think we're all penciling in our wild card. How confident are you about rolling? I do think it does sound like it could be the right move for you.
Yeah, I think so. When you put my team up on the screen and the home games that a lot of my players have, I think I can give myself some flexibility and just go back to captaining Haaland like we should all be doing. I don't know who would be the differential captain for Haaland against Nottingham Forest at home.
Not for this week, certainly. Yeah. But I think over the next couple of weeks, there is a gentleman, Mohamed Salah. At what point do we try and squeeze him into this absolute nightmare of a midfield that I've created for myself? I do feel like maybe you should be concentrating on trying to do that. And that maybe in some way rescues me a little bit and starts getting me a few points. Because if I can take a -8 and somehow squeeze him in, that puts me ahead of people who are yet to get him in. Because we all know it's going to take it takes 2 transfers, right, to get him in.
Yeah, some pain, some real pain, losing some players you want to keep, spending some points you don't want to spend to get him in. But Liverpool look good. Salah's instrumental. They had this big sort of philosophical standoff with Saudi to keep him, so he's nailed. He seems to be in great form, and I think as more and more people get him, it's kind of you have to do it tactically because you can't be shedding 10-15 points to your rivals who have Salah. Yeah, one for the next couple of game weeks, or maybe that wild card that's on the horizon around game week 9.
Well, those are our plans for the week, so if you guys have any questions about what to do, then just drop them in the comments below. We're definitely looking at how we get Salah into our teams. What are you doing? You can hit us up on Twitter. We'll put our handles somewhere on the screen for you to look at. A terrible week, bit shell-shocked, I think, personally anyway, but onwards and upwards. This happens in FPL. It is a game. Try to enjoy it. At some point, as John knows, I was ready to just throw the towel in and just give up, as I nearly always have. I nearly always have that reaction when things are going badly, and there are going to be weeks like this coming up. Hopefully next week will be a better week for us all. Do hit subscribe, do hit like. It all helps keep the channel going, and thanks very much, and we will catch you next week.
See ya. Bye.